It's still artifacty, but
All right, we're live. Let me make sure my chats are working because hopefully this will be interactive. And we're not gonna do any things here. Hold on.
Hi YouTube, this is Kentucky Jason.
Oh, all right, hold up. All right, so I got another subscriber today. Wow, but
Nice.
that's the
Ooh,
last time I
cool.
checked. So,
So are we streaming this, Taylor, on your Tech Talks, or are we streaming this for iAccessibility,
no,
or what are we
we're
streaming?
streaming on
Tech
Tech Talks.
Cool.
Yeah, so let me tweet it out and then we're gonna get started. And let me make sure my speech chat's working.
Oh, you got that working finally.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think so at least. Let me see.
That's good.
Make sure.
Yeah, Michael, this is what you've been sounding like to us all along.
Hmm.
Pretty decent, huh?
For people on the stream, Jason is using AirPods Max to record.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I'm lazy. I have them connected to my Mac over Bluetooth.
And that's pretty impressive sounding
So-
for that.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
But the
really
purpose
clear.
of this stream is not AirPods.
No, so we
Right.
will not be talking about AirPods. But Jason is streaming on some AirPods. So, let's see.
I'll talk about Microsoft on my Apple devices, I promise. I'll be good.
Oh, I don't know. All right, so let me tweet it out and then we'll get started.
Taylor's like, I know you, dude.
I do. and I know. All right, so about
No, in all seriousness, though, I'm actually like excited to share my thoughts about the event, because it's not that just because I'm an Apple guy.
Wait,
Like,
did you say you're gonna wait? Hold on. Let me back up a second. Did you say you're excited to share your thoughts about the M1 Mac? That is what I seriously
no,
thought.
that is not what I said.
He said
I
he's
said-
excited to share his thoughts about the event.
Sorry.
I mean, I know I'm an Apple guy, but you don't need to be putting words in my mouth
Well,
or Microsoft words. Oh wait, Microsoft words need to come out of my mouth.
I was gonna say.
But no, I am. I'm excited as an Apple guy to talk about the Microsoft event, not because I plan on bashing it or anything like that, but because there's some pretty cool stuff they announced.
There's some very amazing stuff they announced.
All right. So, tweet. All right, it's tweeted out, and I mentioned both of y'all in it as well.
I see that. Did you get
Oh,
your speech
apparently I
chat
do too.
working?
Speech chat is working. Yes.
Cool.
So we are going to get started in just. All right. So here we go. All right. We'll just get started. So, 3, 2.
Before you
Wait.
get started, Taylor, real quick, let me turn Do Not Disturb on.
Oh shoot. Yep. Dang it. Good call. Turn
Turn on
off.
Do Not Disturb.
Turn on Do Not Disturb. Turn off.
Okay. Do not disturb is now on. Okay.
I did not mean for that to broadcast so loudly. I apologize.
No, mine did too. We do have one viewer, so if you are a viewer, please chat. We're going to be actively watching those. So, all right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Taylor's Tech Talks. This is a very special stream, and I've got some of my awesome friends from the iAcast and iAccessibility along with me. So, we're going to be talking about Windows 11 and what we think, especially for us who are both developers and content creators. With me, I have Michael Dowies.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Michael. I have Jason Earls.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Jason. And I'm probably going to have a couple more popping on throughout the stream, but that's who I have at the moment. So, we're going to get started and talking about our thoughts. And again, if you would like to interact, you can feel free to use the YouTube chat, and we will be monitoring those and we'll be taking questions. But particularly what we're going to be talking about is the Windows 11 and how it will change, I guess, the way that we content create, right, for us podcasters or YouTubers or all of the above, and develop. Because me and Michael especially are both content creators and developers, and Jason, you're a music producer, so it'd be interesting to see how that would flow into that as well, but just kind of how it helps the creative professional and also the developer. So, yeah, if you would like to chat, you can do it as well, but we'll kind of get started. What I will do first, though, is I'll just kind of talk about the main highlights of the event, and Jason and Michael can also follow along as well, and then we'll kind of start getting into the nitty-gritty stuff. But for those who may not have watched the event, we'll kind of go in that direction. So, let's see here. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of go through some of my notes here, and that way we can see what we have. Because, yeah, there's a lot of stuff announced, but I'm just going to kind of go through our thoughts. Oh, we do have a chat message, so let me address that a second. Rodrigo XD, hello. Nice to have you on stream. And yeah, welcome. And let's get started with some Windows 11 recap stuff here. So, let me open up my Google Doc if I can find it. That'd be helpful. I had it open. Of course, it crashed. Here we go. So, let's talk about kind of what we thought in the initial, the introduction of the event. So, I was a little bit disappointed, and I don't know what you guys' thoughts are, Michael and Jason, about the audio description or lack thereof.
Well, can I first start by talking about the giant, huge, fat elephant in the room?
Well, yes, we can talk about the elephant in the room, but honestly, for us, it really didn't start happening until 30 seconds into the event. That's why I wanted to kind of lead that into the other thing, right?
Well, I mean, the audio description was disappointing because there was a lot of commercials.
Right.
Yeah, it was a very visual thing at the beginning.
The whole thing, the whole event.
Well, that's true. Yeah, the whole event was very visual. So not having that audio description was.
Yeah, Apple does that, but.
But there's a bigger elephant in the room, right? Was there closed captioning?
Yes, there was closed captioning, which was great.
And sign language, right? Didn't you guys say there was sign language on the
screen?
They
had both, yeah. So, other than audio description, the big elephant in the room was that you could not watch it from the Microsoft website.
Mm-hmm.
You had to watch it from YouTube, and I think the popular one we saw was on CNET.
Yeah,
and I know this is because at the end of the one that I was watching, it had a big CNET thing at the end. I was like, well, that wasn't an official stream, but okay. And but if you went to the Microsoft webpage, I thought it was just because of the network I was on, because I was away from my home network, and I thought, oh, it's buffering. Great, it's my network. But no, we got confirmation that it was other people's as well, so that was great.
Yeah, I don't feel like they were quite ready for the amount of people watching that event off of the main site.
But let's be real here, though. Apple had the same problem.
Right.
A few years ago.
But I don't feel like it lasted nearly as long.
Yes, it did. It took them several years for them to get that right.
Yeah. I thought you meant the last event.
No.
But no, you're right. There, for a long time, it was very hard to watch an Apple keynote live from their website.
Yeah. And I mean, that just goes to show, I saw a bunch of tweets on Twitter. Twitter was blowing up, right, earlier about this whole thing. And it really showed, how, I guess, what happened when they tried to go away from YouTube. Yeah, I understand they may not want to use YouTube, but honestly, it's kind of the most reliable, if we want to make sure we can get the message out there. And if we know that our infrastructure might not be good enough, then...
Yeah. Well, and, the thing about it is that even it may not have just been, that it may have been a YouTube, that may have been a problem on YouTube. It may not have been, just depending on how many listeners. And it could have been a problem with how they were streaming it to their website and how many people were hitting their website. But either way, they should have had contingencies and planned for, they should have planned for it a little better.
Yeah, I totally agree about that. And that's, I guess they live and they learn, right? I mean, we all do, but...
Well, you can definitely tell that they've learned throughout the event.
So that's kind of the big elephant in the room, right? It's kind of hard to watch the stream. It's kind of a big problem, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the audio description was definitely something else. But yeah, we kind of just touched on that. But there was a lot of new features. So let's see here. Okay. So, the first category that they really brought home, and I guess we'll talk about vibes first. Let me go. I gotta go turn off a ceiling fan, I think, because it just got really cold. Anyways,
Speaking of vibes, as your
Right?
house gets possessed by spirits.
Ooh,
So-
speaking of Windows,
Wait. Go ahead,
speaking
Michael.
of what's it called, Windows 11, something just came through my email.
Oh,
that was
what is
very
that?
interesting. An email from Best Buy. Windows 11 brings you closer to a tooltip
Whoa.
over your UI.
Hello,
brings you
microphone
closer,
in the face.
to what you love, and it's basically an email showing a Surface Book, and has a learn more link about Windows 11, and of course it's Best Buy, so they're trying to sell you laptops and stuff, but they have a link to learn more about Windows 11 from their website. So I figured I'd share that because that came in right as we were talking about this, and I thought that was rather convenient.
Really?
Well, and it honestly fits into talking about vibes, because closer to the things you love was really what the beginning of the event was about. All of the this, I forgot the guy's name now.
Panos Panay.
Yeah. Talking about being able to use Windows 11 to connect to his family, being able to use Windows 11 to work, to play.
And he was very emotional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't sound very scripted, actually. And
No,
it wasn't. That was cool. Some of the other things to me did sound a little scripted, but I also was expecting that, so I'm not knocking them for that. That's fine. If the whole thing was scripted, I would have been fine, but he didn't sound scripted. He sounded a little tired, though, but he didn't sound scripted.
Well, they've been working on. I'm sure, have had meetings.
Oh,
upon
yeah,
meetings,
definitely.
And it was a very very emotional and very heartfelt message. And I mean, even I would go as far as to say that the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, is the next Steve Jobs. That man is a visionary.
Yeah.
And you get I think he has the vision of the company and what people want, and he listens. And you can see that through every time he talks, he has something profound, in my opinion, to say. And he did again this time too, and kind of a jab at Apple when he did it too. So
Yeah, that's...
But there was a lot of vibes that were saying Microsoft is changing, and even more than they already have, to be open and the people's operating system, not what the company wants you to have, but what you want to have. And I think that's a direct jab at the Apple ecosystem.
All right. I was able to put out a post. I just want to make that clear. I was able to promote that now. Actually worked.
Good.
But anyways. But yeah, I really think that's, trying to go at Apple now. Which I never would have really expected, right? You wouldn't really or would
That
you?
doesn't surprise me. That really doesn't surprise me.
Well, there was
Because-
a lot of... Oh, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, it doesn't surprise me because, Apple and Microsoft are competing in some of the same areas. They both make computers and ecosystems around those devices. And of course, each company wants you to buy their ecosystem for their reasons.
Well, Apple and Microsoft are tech companies are not about the competition as much as they used to. Where it fits their needs, they work together. But I feel like Microsoft is kind of taking a look at today's culture and is saying this is what people want, not what we think people want, which is kind of what Apple and Google are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I saw an article on Apple News with the headline, Apple says that if you want this controversial feature, then you should not use an iPhone.
I saw that too. I think they were talking about, what was it, side loading?
Mm-hmm. And the apps and changing of the App Store. And it's just, the thing that has to happen is Apple has to understand that it's not about them. It's about their customers.
Right.
And that's what Microsoft has really done well. And this is, I love my Apple products. I do.
And I think we all do as well.
After I talk about later on in our talk today, after I talk about some of the stuff that I saw that our developers are allowed to do in Windows 11, it's going to be difficult justifying the Mac as a developer platform.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So, okay. So I totally agree with that. And I think it will, be definitely, difficult. And that's obviously we're going to talk about development later on, but we'll kind of go through more of the features. So let's kind of talk about the productivity, right? Because I have a lot of stuff written down, and obviously, because I kind of went through a lot of it in very, very rapid fire motion here. So, new start menu with centered layout. Did you get to see that visually, Michael? How did that look? The new start menu with a centered layout. Talk about that for visually.
It looks like, so everything's now in the middle of the screen, very dock-centric, like on the Mac.
Uh-huh.
So, also reading the documentation, and this is something that I did not know, is that you can no longer move the taskbar.
Really?
It used to be able to be put on the side or the top of the screen. No longer. It is on the bottom. It is very Chrome OS and Mac OS looking. And the start menu comes up at the center and reminds me a lot of the Chrome OS app launcher kind of area. Live tiles are gone from the start menu. All of that's gone. You just have your icons, you have folder locations, and suggested things kind of like in Apple Land. But it's very much a... everything's in one place. You can get to it right here. And there's icons kind of like on your desktop that you could put in your start menu, and it makes it very easy to get to what you need. But I haven't had a chance to really look at it in detail. I've just kind of looked at the design, and it's very different. Now,
sadly, I don't think I'll be able to look at it.
Well, you'll have different UI. Not everything will be the same places as it was in Windows 10. But you can set your taskbar and start menu back to the Windows 10 feel.
So that's good, at least, for people who may not like that other way that's done. So that at least is a positive side to this. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So overall, your thoughts are kind of like, Is it kind of like your...
No, I really like it. I love the new setup because it's new. It's one of the things that the Microsoft has done, and I'll talk about this more in the developer section, is they have rounded all the corners to the start menu, to Windows, to a lot of other things, and even your older applications will take advantage of that because they will just follow in line to what the new Fluid layout is. I think that's the name. And it's either Fluid or Fluent. I can't remember the correct word. But it will just follow that layout if it's a UWP app or if it's how it's built. So that is an awesome thing.
Yes, that is super awesome. Sorry guys, I had some DMs. People are trying to find my stream. They're trying to find the link, so I apologize for that one. But yeah, that's super cool that you're liking the setup. And how do you think, like, for somebody with low vision, does it affect the way that you use the the layout and stuff?
I think it's smaller. There's not as many items because there is no live tiles on the start menu, so it's going to be simpler. and I think that could be great for some people.
Okay. Okay. So I just had to. So I had to actually manually post to Facebook, which I didn't really want to do. But anyways, so okay. Now that that's settled, yeah. So let's kind of move on to our next little item. If anybody else doesn't have anything else to add to that, any other thoughts about that?
I personally don't have any because I wasn't truly able to appreciate all of those visual changes due to the lack of, audio description in the stream. I mean, they did talk about some things, but there was a lot of
Right, and I feel like
commercial type stuff.
right, and I feel like as somebody, because me and Jason are both like blind, I feel like we did miss out a lot of elements.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Michael Babcock, I believe, is joining us. So let's take a little bit of a pause here and welcome Michael Babcock to the stream. He is another one of our great friends. He just was coming in a little bit late, but let's welcome him up.
Do we have to? No, I'm kidding.
Jason, I wasn't going to say what I was going to say because I don't want to get, And also everybody on Facebook is watching as well.
Welcome,
Michael Babcock's obviously going to...
Yeah,
cool
so hey, Michael.
Maybe.
He's here.
Hello.
Hey, Michael.
Hello.
Hey, I had to agree to you guys live streaming me.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, yeah, because of the recording thing. Yeah,
Yep.
Zoom does that.
Yep.
So we've gone through talking about the start menu, Michael, so that Taylor has some very well outlined notes for this
Yes.
whole thing.
Yeah, she was fancy and she took notes.
And
Ooh.
we talked about kind of the vibe, the lack of audio description, and the elephant in the room, which was...
Yeah, the inability to watch the stream on the website for a lot of people.
So
Yeah.
we were just at a great transition point when you...
We were.
When you
Perfect.
came in.
Well, my timing is impeccable, so I will be on mute until it's my turn to talk.
Well, do you have any thoughts about what we discussed so far that you want to add to our little conversation? Obviously, you weren't here, but, just kind of what were your thoughts about especially the audio description and the new start menu and just the vibes of the event?
So
I just
my
wanna
initial
hear your
thoughts
take.
are that I hate to admit that I was unsurprised that there was no audio description. And I'm intrigued to see how the start menu comes out because Windows has changed the start menu a couple of times, and every time that it changes, there is difficulty for people to get used to it. So I'm intrigued to see how that comes out, and I'm excited to play with the beta when it's available.
Well, one thing I will also say about the start menu, think of the new start menu as a very mobile-centric... everything in Windows 11 is mobile first.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you were to be running this on a mobile phone, if they made this into a phone, which I'm not ever saying it is, don't anybody on YouTube insinuate that, I feel like looking at that start menu that it could be responsive to live on a phone.
Yeah.
It does not look like the wide start menu we had with live tiles and all that, which have been deprecated. They are no longer in Windows 11. There's just icons and folders and different things in your start menu now. So,
All right, so let me just... All right, guys, we're just having some technical difficulties. My internet's being a little funny. So, yeah, and I totally, like I said, that's... Okay, can you guys still hear me? My
Yes.
internet's cutting in and
Yep.
out.
Yep. I hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having some internet issues. Yeah, and that's kind of one of those other things too. I just totally lost my thought. But anyways, so we'll kind of move on as long as anybody else doesn't have anything else to add.
yeah, let's go to the next thing.
All right. So, here we go. Let's talk about our next thing here. Okay. There we go. Whoops. All right, if I can find my thing here. Okay, so, whoops. Google is trying to ask me if I want to leave. Okay. So,
It's like you're not talking about our stuff. Do you want to leave?
I know, right? So
Intense.
let's talk about snap groups. So snap groups. I'll just kind of give it a little bit of a brief. I think Michael had something to say. I could hear him starting to open his mouth.
No, I was taking a deep breath.
Oh,
So
well,
you could continue.
okay. So snap groups, and here's what I understood. Now, somebody who has a little bit more vision, correct me if I'm wrong about this. So what I was able to understand from the event and just kind of how it worked was basically it was a collection of apps that you were in before you had to leave whatever activity you were doing. So whether if you go away from your computer or if you had to reboot. Do I have that kind of right idea, Michael? Is that kind of how it works?
So, I will tell you this: for screen reader users, it means nothing.
Really? Okay.
Yes. It means
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Yeah.
It means absolutely nothing unless they have a way to go between the two windows that are on the screen at once. If they do have a keystroke to do that, that would be great. I have not played with Snap much in Windows, but basically what it means is that you could put 1, 2, or 3, or 4 windows on your screen at a given time and make them tile from left to right. So if I'm working on one of the best, going to the developer side, they had Visual Studio Code, Edge, and the Edge debugger all on the screen at once. So they could see their site, they could see their code, and they could see the live code as well. So they could easily go between the 3 windows easily with very iPad OS 15 like gestures and screens and even the shelf looking thing at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because obviously I would have had no idea what that would mean, right? For, because I'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
this seems cool.
Honestly, that's kind of what I sort of took. Excuse me. Excuse me again. Sorry about that. But that's kind of what I actually had taken out of that too. Is that it was kind of like iPad OS's sort of multitasking interface a little bit, based on what they were saying and stuff. And I hope they have a way for screen reader users to be able to navigate those snap groups.
So, Michael, you use Windows 10 semi-regularly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Are you familiar with virtual desktops and how those work? And if so, how does this compare to the virtual desktop feature?
So we're going to get into that later.
Okay.
Yes.
But this is different because basically, like the iPad, you could have multiple snap groups. So you can have several apps already pinned together in a snap group. So if I wanted VS Code, Edge, and Edge Debugger, I can have that, or I can have Twitter and Netflix, or I can have, kind of like on the iPad. So that's kind of what they were going for there. They made a big change to virtual desktops that we'll get to. I'm sure you'd have that in your notes, Taylor, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that in a little bit, and I'll talk about how that's different.
Okay, I wasn't sure if Snap and that next feature, which I know what you're talking about, were closely related. So for a screen reader user, don't have much to say about this because it'll be interesting to see how implementation is brought on.
Right, and that's all really what we want to see, right? Is how the implementation is brought up.
I was just thinking, because of this whole event being, making Windows 11 kind of a mobile first operating system, right? I would really like to see how they pull this off for touch interfaces for screen readers that have support. Well, I guess all the screen readers nowadays, right, have touch support, NVDA, JAWS.
Now, in saying that, Snap actually might have really good support for touch first screen readers.
Really?
Because you could just move your finger from one app on the screen to the next with Explore by Touch. So that might actually be pretty useful.
Huh? That's another angle to take.
It's something that I try to think about a lot, Taylor, because I'm not necessarily trying to plug our stuff over top of your channel, but a while ago on the IA cast, we did a show talking about what was it, Michael? We were talking about like different productivity things, and we started getting off on like touchscreens versus keyboards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I was realizing when I had my iPad at the time that I have not really been able to get on anything other than my Pixelbook, which I no longer have, is that touchscreen access giving me a more spatial sense as far as the location and the spatial design of not just apps themselves, but the operating system as a whole. You know, knowing that, you know, toolbars are, you know, at the top of the screen. Things like knowing that the in the case of iOS, the dock is on the bottom of the screen, and that's information that you can kind of get, I feel like, with keyboards. But in my case, I feel like I get a much better sense of where things are using a touchscreen. So if I end up getting another PC in my life, I'm really hoping that it has a touchscreen for that reason.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I'm going to follow that up by asking anybody, has anybody ever used Windows on a touchscreen device before?
Yes.
At the Microsoft Store, looking at a Surface.
Yeah, well, exactly. I've been at the, well, I know, and I've used the Microsoft Store, but I haven't had a lot of time to actually play around. So what are your thoughts? How do you guys like Windows? Because this kind of goes back to what we were saying, right? So how do you like Windows on a touch device with screen readers? Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
I only used Narrator at the time when I had access to it. It seemed a little laggy, but I attribute that more to the machine and its power settings, more so than to Narrator's true performance and Windows' true performance when navigating it by touch.
Okay.
So I didn't have the best experience, but I'm well aware of the fact that my experience could have been altered by, you know, settings in the machine in the store and stuff. And I would definitely be willing to play with it and look at it again.
Okay. Any other thoughts from anybody else?
So I used.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead,
Oops.
Michael.
Okay.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I used so I have a Surface Book. I think it's a Surface Book 2 or 3 that has the 10-finger touch input on it, and you can turn it into a tablet or disconnect it from the keyboard and use it by just as a tablet. From my point of view, and this could be, I don't know if it's the way Windows 10 is set up, the way JAWS handled it, or the way my brain works, but it was too busy, in my opinion, for touch input. And so I just resorted back to connecting it to the keyboard and going back to what I am used to. But that's been my experience with it. It worked. You could do it. You could type on it, and I didn't have too many problems, but it was just too busy, and I couldn't wrap my mind around where is the start menu in relation to where my finger is, where when I could just tap the Windows key and be on the start menu. So that was my brief
That's an
experience.
interesting
tried
point
for
I
like
hadn't
2 hours.
considered.
What was that, Jason?
Oh, I was just saying that's an interesting point that I hadn't considered. Windows having a lot more going on the screen, and I kind of got that a little bit too when I was at the store. This was, you know, a few years back, but you know, I do kind of see what you mean, Michael Babcock, about the screen being super busy as far as things under your finger, because really operating systems spatially wise have a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
You know, visually on the display, and so, you know, that is something to think about when you're trying to do this with a touch-based navigation method while using a screen reader specifically.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, and that's something to really, you know, keep in mind. So does anybody have any thoughts about that? Because we kind of went off on a tangent, but I feel like it was really important to cover. By the way, Michael, that post did finally go up on the iAccessibility website. I don't know why
I
it
just
took
saw
so
it.
long.
Yeah. I think that I really think touchscreen Windows is one of the best, you know, ways to use Windows, because people think they did it wrong with what's it called? With Windows 8 and all that, and I think they actually did a good job. But they've been refining it more and more. And I think narrator is a little slow, but they all have not. I mean, they're all kind of working to get the right formula to make it work.
Right, because I think narrator, again, like I said, it definitely, it's a little bit slow, but I mean, it definitely is improving, right? With every version.
Right, and I will say, I seem to remember a narrator actually allowing you to go in and actually customize and add different touch commands similar to the voiceover screen reader in iOS, TalkBack screen reader in Android. I seem to remember being able to go into the narrator commands and really customize a lot to make things easier for you, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, and I also, I think we may have some chat messages real quick, so I'm going to address those while we're kind of at a transition here.
I just looked. I haven't seen any, but if you do...
Okay. Oh, well, I guess I see some new viewers. But, yeah. But I just wanted to make sure we were up and going there. But, yeah, that was kind of, sorry, Jason, I totally cut you off your thought. No,
I was basically done.
Oh, were you? Okay, cool. Okay, so is everybody else ready to move on? Because, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad that I took these notes. They're very helpful. Okay, so we talked about snap groups, and now we're going to talk about desktops. So this is kind of what Michael Babcock was talking about just about 10 minutes ago. So there's new desktops for different parts of your life. That's literally the verbatim I had written down from the notes. Okay, so, again, what do you think about this? Because I have some thoughts. It's almost like they're trying to take on what Apple has done with Focus. Right?
Yeah,
exactly
that's
what it is.
That's what I was saying during the stream. Like, I was like, it kind of sounds like Focus. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that, I don't know what happened, Michael, but on that stream, everybody was talking, but everybody got, noise canceled, so I heard part of what people said and other things that would...
That's just sharing audio in Zoom. That's just how it works.
Well, I can hear everybody personally, but...
Right, but I think it could have been something with you at the office. Who knows, regardless. But, yeah, that's something that is definitely important as well, right? You can have different parts, different desktops for different purposes. I've never played with virtual desktops with screen readers in Windows 10. Has anybody, I'm curious, found a purpose for them?
Yes.
The closest I came to getting around to messing with virtual desktops was there was a program, and I don't remember who wrote it now. But it worked with, I think, XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7. It was called InUtils. And it actually allowed you to set different desktop and space groups. And the neat thing is, if I'm remembering correctly, you were able to limit what apps appeared in the command.
Command tab?
Yeah.
Whoops. Whoops.
Wrong OS.
Try that again. Yeah, Jay, for everybody on the stream, because we've got some new viewers, Jason is a Apple fanatic. So, yeah, no, that's just a little bit about, yeah. So Jason is an Apple fanatic. So I'm not surprised that came out of your mouth. In fact, I knew that something was going to come out of that. But anyways, so,
hey, the keys are in the same place, okay? The command key, the alt key, they're both next to the space bar.
Yeah.
Well, at least in the U.S. layout, they're next to the space bar.
Right.
I don't know if that's different for other countries. But yeah, you could limit the apps in the Alt tab order that would show up based on what you wanted to display, which was cool.
Yeah, so that's really cool, right? Because it's able to show up in your Alt tab order. Michael
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, Michael, I'm curious how you've used them.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. You took the words right out of my mouth, Michael Lee.
And of course, you guys call me right as I'm stirring this rice. No, it's okay.
Oh, awesome.
So I discovered virtual desktops in Windows 10 a couple of years ago. And when I discovered that, yeah, you can quick release that. When I discovered virtual desktops, it kind of changed my life. So I am in I have been in a contact center environment. And what virtual desktops will let a and I'm going to say this from a blind user's point of view, a blind user do is set up what apps you want or what programs you want and alt tab between them, kind of like what Jason was talking about. So for example, I had my contact center soft phone that I used and Chrome in one virtual desktop, and then on the right side, or desktop 2, I had Notepad set up. So I could use the control Windows left and right arrows to jump between desktops, and then alt tab to jump between different programs inside of each of those desktops. And when I was able to get that to work, and I got that all set up properly, I was very productive with using it. And right now I have a personal desktop and a work desktop set up. And the work desktop has my Slack in it and my Chrome windows, and I think that's all that it has in it right now. And then my personal desktop has a separate instance of Chrome running that has, you know, some of the random stuff that I look up. And then I always have a notepad open on my personal desktop as well, because I like to take notes. So right now I'm kind of doing already what the desktops will allow you to do in a sense. Windows tab, thank you to JJ at Blind Bargains, who brought this to my attention in one of their podcasts. But Windows tab will bring up a list of all of the running applications that you have, and then you can press the applications key on that program that's running and say send to, and you can move it to desktop 1, desktop 2, however many you have.
Oh, that's neat.
So it is amazing for doing that. The problem is, and I think Windows 11 will solve this, is your desktops, like the actual, when you press Windows D and you get to that desktop itself, and Windows Tab will let you rename them. So by default, when you do Windows D and you do Insert T, or you read the title bar, it'll say Desktop 1, Desktop 2, Desktop 3, et cetera, et cetera.
That's not very helpful.
Yeah, exactly. But in your Windows tab order, you can go in and rename them. So now when I do Windows D and I hit Insert T, it says Personal Desktop. And when I do Control Windows right arrow, it'll say Business. Actually, it says AT Guys Desktop. And so that's great. But the problem is that Windows D and all the icons on the desktop are the same on both of your virtual desktops. And I think this might, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but I think you can have different icons on each of those desktops is the way it sounded to me.
So let's go through what we actually got. Desktops in Windows 11 are completely new.
Okay.
You can do all the things that you said that you could do before, but you can actually make your new desktops into their own workspaces. So what that means is I can have all my icons and documents for personal on one, and then all my icons and documents and all those other things on 2. Now, I think you can rename them, but you can also set, for the visual users out there, a separate wallpaper per desktop.
Right,
So-
I did have that written down as well. Mike Lee. Or D.
So you will be able to do those things. And I'm wondering is if you could have different widget groups based on desktop. They didn't mention that from what I remember.
Did they? Because I did hear something about that.
They say you can use widgets that will go over your
Yeah, I
desktop,
didn't-
but they didn't specify if you can do
Yeah, I didn't
different
remember
widget
them
groups
saying
per
that.
Oh,
desktop.
widget groups. Oh,
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
that'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
So that's something that we're going to research and, get back to you with. Because I think that would be interesting to find out. And we will find out these things next week.
Yes, and be sure. We're gonna plug the IA cast. This Sunday we're doing an IA cast at 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 1:30 Pacific. And we are going to be talking about the Microsoft event in our news section. We're also going to be talking about Google Workspace versus Microsoft Office. So I'm going to be on there as well. So if you want to hear more of me and more of Jason and all of our great people, Michael Babcock, Michael Doise, be sure to follow the IA cast. And at the end of the show, I will also tell you guys where to follow Michael B and Michael D and Jason to get their podcast as well, because they've got really great shows as well. But I just thought I would mention that since that kind of fit in. If you want to hear more about some of these things, maybe we'll find out some by Sunday, or who knows when we'll figure that out. But yeah.
Probably when we get the insider build next week.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I really am a little bit sad that
Why
it
are you
appears
sad?
that my PC, because it appears this is a thing. This is coming from an Apple guy, but I'm a little bit sad that I think my PC is going to be too old to run Windows 11.
Do you have that? Oh, well, you just opened up a whole nother can of worms, Jason.
Yep.
Oops.
Okay. Well, all right, we're gonna not follow the script for just a second. So, anybody want to? Obviously, I can kind of explain this, but anybody want to explain what this chip fiasco is about? Michael B or D? I know that. Bleh. Guys, we have too many Michaels in this stinking chat stream thing.
So
There's only two.
the thing is with this, there's a new requirement by Microsoft that you need not just version 1, not version 1.2, but version 2 of the TPM chip. Do you have that written down, Taylor, in your notes of what that stands for?
TPM. Let me see if I have that in there. I honestly TPM. No, I do not have that written down, but I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Do you remember, Michael?
He appears to be muted.
What are you asking me?
Oh, TPM.
What it stands for?
Trusted Platform Module.
There
I have
we
it.
There you go.
Yeah, I literally had just found it as you had said
So, TPM, and you could actually find out if you have this module installed on your computer by doing Windows R and typing tpm.msc.
Yep.
And what this module does is, if you're an Apple person, think of the secure enclave on your iPhone or a secured encryption chip that stores your keys and different things in Windows. If you don't have this chip, Windows 11 will say, not going to do it. It is a requirement by the system to have this to run Windows 11. And this came on computers starting in 2017.
Yeah, there's no way that my 2013 PC will have that.
Oh, geez, no.
So it kind of
yeah.
stinks. Usually there's not been a hard limit of what PCs would support Windows. Now it looks like, the Microsoft employee that said this will be the last version of Windows, for most PCs, he's not lying.
No, he's not.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, a lot of people don't have that new of a PC.
No.
And the chip shortage isn't making that any easier for people.
Nope. I was lucky. I actually got this computer while I was in Ann Arbor. Literally, like a week before we shut down, I was in Ann Arbor for spring break. And I ended up getting this PC, and I was like, oh my gosh, does this have it? Oh, thank God.
Well, and I got lucky too because, I mean, yes, this is a Mac I'm referring to, but, I got my Mac during the chip shortage. And, Apple had already had a lot of delays and stuff with the M1 Max, and there were people talking about not being able to get, because mine has 16 gigs of RAM, not being able to get that particular configuration in store. They had like one. And I have that one that they had.
Well, here's the thing, though. Most of the time, Apple doesn't keep a lot of the custom configurations in store.
Well, most of what they had at the time, I think what I was told were like 256 gig, 8 gig of RAM configurations. They didn't have the 512 ones. I mean, they did, but they didn't have a lot of them apparently.
But I mean, this TPM chip is going to be it's going to make a lot of people. When I read the specs, and there's a Windows Insider article talking about the specs.
There is, and I can, once this thing is done too, I can put that in the description or the show notes when this comes on the podcast.
That talks about the specs that you need for Windows 11, and it talks about a lot of things, like installation, no Cortana in the taskbar anymore.
Right. Or at startup, right?
Yep, at system install or on the taskbar, either place.
Yep. Yeah, that's sad. Okay. Any other thoughts on that before I move on to the next item?
Speaking of startup, really quickly though, I really want to hear that sound. I want to know what the new sound is.
What do you mean?
Windows 11 apparently is going to have a new start sound.
We hadn't heard
which
about
is
this.
Really?
yeah. Apparently, it's going to have a new start
Let's see.
sound. I don't know what it is.
I found it.
But the start sound
Sorry,
is
Jason.
as somebody that doesn't have any usable vision, especially as PCs get quieter, and I really found this out with my Mac. You can't always go up to your PC as a totally blind person now, and if you don't have speech, you can't always tell if it's on because of how quiet it is, and
Well,
whether
did
it's
you-
actually.
Did you get the references where they jabbed at Apple by saying whether you bought your PC, whether you
Major PC.
whether you built your PC,
Yep.
whether you
Yep.
that was totally a jab at Apple right there.
But the whole event argued with it was jab at Apple. By the way, I just found the Windows 11 startup sound.
I wonder if there's a way you could send that through.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
send. Am I allowed? Well, I want to send it. I'm gonna send it through.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just a second. Let me.
Yeah, because, like I was saying though, for accessibility reasons, I like having my start sounds.
Okay,
So-
hold on. All right. For those who are just joining us, we're going to attempt to play the Windows 11 startup sound. So let me see if I can. I have it on. It's actually on YouTube. Oh man, I'm logged in through my Google account.
I had that
Classic.
problem earlier.
Classic.
Next to make search domain clickable videos heading level 2 of this result.
Alright,
Windows 11
hold
startup sound. Visit link YouTube build.io. Visit link 1 week ago. Visit link heading level 3 Windows 11
Obviously,
startup
this
sound.
was a.
Visit link graphic video result for Windows 11 link 1:29. Link heading level 3 Windows 11 UI sounds. Link YouTube build.Martin Nobel. Link 1 week ago.
Let's see.
Link heading level 3 Windows 11 UI.
I'm just gonna copy this. Sorry guys. You can hear my speech,
Tap
but
Google.
I just want to show these because I'm actually just gonna. There's a whole.
Clickable main landmark. Clickable videos heading level Windows 11 UI sounds heading level.
Okay.
Link document busy blank.
When advertising on YouTube, I know that
Oh,
making
no.
an
Love
authentic
ads.
video
Main
with a
landmark.
clear call to action is key to getting results. That's why YouTube
I gotta find
offers
this
tools, resources,
Okay. Anybody?
Okay.
But there's more sounds. These are all the sounds.
Here's all the speech recognition sounds.
Actually, a lot of these sounds are old
Really? Why are they showing up then?
because
Oh, that's a new one.
yeah.
So yeah, it seems like some of these are carryovers from
They are.
Windows
Like
7,
they played
Windows
the
Vista,
Windows
but
10 notification sound that carried over.
the log out and log in sound. Oh, I wonder what that is.
What is that?
That's interesting. I like the new startup sound though, for sure.
Well, do
Yeah.
we know? Well, but there's more sounds though.
Now, yeah, but I think that gets the point across. What
Okay,
we're
let
gonna
me
get.
stop these.
Yeah.
Let me stop sharing my screen.
24 Windows 11 left parent.
And
Right parent.
also
Left
keep in
parent.
mind,
27.0.
folks.
Ops
Hold
alternative for life.
on, Michael. Let me stop
Left
my
parent. One light
speech.
inbox left parent. Ops 27.
I can't-
Left row
I
2
can't
column 4.
find
3 reminder
my,
left parent. Windows 11 for creators and developers. Dash meeting mode 2 column 6.
Sorry.
Windows 11 for creators and developers. Dash meeting. Dialog.
I
Requires
can't
plan.
find my Zoom meeting. Where's my Zoom?
Windows 11 sounds dash Google search dash Google row 1 column 2. Windows.
Sorry,
Ops
Michael. I
alternative for
just
live
want to
streaming
make sure
bar.
I can't find my Zoom meeting.
Meeting
at the
control row 1
moment.
column 1. Meeting control.
All right. Sorry, I
So-
the speech to get in your way.
So one of the things that we need to keep in mind that we played all these, but I think these a lot of people found these in the leaked build that came out. So
Exactly. Yeah.
They may have
Big
changed.
disclaimer
Yeah.
there.
they may have changed between when they leaked and now, and then we're going to get this as insider developers next week.
Yes.
And so it's going to be like a iOS developer beta. It's going to be buggy. It's going to
Oh
be,
yeah.
not completely done. So the sounds could even change because Microsoft is a little bit more agile with their software development than Apple is.
So, Michael, for those who don't know, explain what that means for the audience who may be watching this.
So what I mean by that is Apple, they make changes by the year. Microsoft does 2 software releases for Windows every year, and they make rapid changes. Even like for insiders, like I could have a feature on one insider release, And then if they didn't like how it works, it could be stripped out the next, which is not something Apple does.
No.
So there's a lot of things that, and they have the Insider blog where they talk about new things. So, and it's kind of weird because, the Windows Insider program features are very fluid. So, things change, and when they come out to the full, version for Windows, it's like, I've been playing with that for months. And now everybody can use it. And I'm like, I thought this was a feature all along because they implement it so naturally over the Insider builds.
Right. Yep, and that's a good point. But yeah, these sounds, like I said, it was just kind of a fun thing to do, but yeah, that could definitely change. Okay, any other thoughts on that before we move on? All right, let's see what's next in my notes here. Okay, so let's talk the next category. So we've covered productivity. The next category they mentioned was connecting, right? Because we all know in the pandemic, they're kind of mentioning how we had to find new ways of connecting people, or with people, rather. And that face-to-face, like you're spending a little more time with your family, than ever. Which could be a good or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. But, finding ways to connect people. That was their next big takeaway. So the first thing that they mentioned, and I want to get y'all's thoughts about this, is Teams integration into Windows. What the world? Yeah. How do you guys like that idea?
I have very big opinions on this.
All right, I want to hear them. Go for it.
And I think Jason and Michael B will agree with me. If they got Teams to sound that good, and visually to look that good, then they've because they made that thing look cinematic.
Oh, did they?
We all know it's not.
No.
And does not sound cinematic.
Right. My headphones right now are producing clearer audio than what the Microsoft Teams I'm familiar with actually will give you.
Now, they did present a very clean UI for chatting and talking to people. Very nice built into Windows. Now, my only complaint about Teams is, and I have to give it to Apple on this one. Actually, I've got to really give it to Apple because they just wiped Teams. They wiped the floor with Teams, with FaceTime. And especially with what they're doing with FaceTime links and that kind of stuff. Yeah, they wiped the floor with it. But does it have to be called Teams? I mean...
Right?
If you're...
Yeah, I do kind of wish they had a different name for a consumer version of Teams, because when I think of Teams... I think of business, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think of things like Slack, things like I was going to say Discord, but I only associate Discord with business because of my accessibility. But Slack and other apps
and Google
like that.
Hangouts or chat or.
Well, Hangouts a little bit less so for me.
Right, but Google Chat especially because that's built into Workspace.
Yeah, that Google Meet. I think of apps like that, and FaceTime, the name FaceTime even invokes more of I want to talk to my friends and family more so than a name like Teams. And for the sake of clarity, I'm not knocking it per se. I'm glad that it's integrated more into Windows. I just hope that it's as clear as I would like it to be, is all I'm saying. Even if it's not.
That's a great point, Jason.
I'll live, but
that's a great point. I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was thinking about that throughout the whole event. And the other thing that I failed to mention, why did they mention Zoom first before they mentioned Microsoft Teams?
Yes.
Antitrust
Actually, they
stuff.
put Teams last in the list.
I know. Why?
I wonder if it's because they're super sensitive about antitrust stuff, trying to put their stuff over top of other people's stuff.
Yeah, we're going to get to a lot of that kind of stuff.
Oh, are we?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you think about it, and we can talk about this later on too, in the stream when they were talking about Windows 10 PCs, they put their brand last, if I remember correctly. I believe it was Dell, HP, and then
they
Surface.
put Surface last.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. And what I got out of that is I wonder if they're doing that to amplify their we don't want to I keep saying we don't want to be evil. That's a Google thing, but
Well,
something like
They
that,
don't
you know.
know what it is they don't want to repeat the sins of the past.
okay.
Right.
Because and I'll just briefly go into this because I want to have a longer discussion when we get to the Windows Store. Microsoft was sued back in the 90s for Internet Explorer being the one browser to rule them all. Right? And they had a lot of antitrust accusations. They came through that, and Microsoft was on shaky ground for a long time. And since they've re-idealized themselves, they've realized they learned from their mistakes. They became a people-first company, and that's why they did that today. And I think it looks very good on their image, on what they did. So I'm very happy to see it. But we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about more about that later. Any other thoughts on that, Sam? Because I totally agree. Antitrust, but I mean, I was still in shock, right? I'm like, what? Like, really? I was just in complete and utter shock when they did that. Yeah. And what does everybody else in the chat think? If you're in the chat, what do you guys think about this? Because let's see what you guys all think. So feel free to put in your chat message, and we'll kind of see what you guys all think about this whole Microsoft Teams ordeal or anything. Just if you have any comments, feel free to put them in, and we'll address them on stream. But yeah, I really think that this is. I mean, it's great. Obviously there's lawsuits and everything with antitrust, but it was still in shock, obviously, since I've never kind of seen this before. But yeah. So, anyways, yeah. If anybody else has any other thoughts in chat, put them in there, and we'll talk about it. But let's see here. Yeah, that's kind of what I think about that that aspect. So, is there any other thoughts about that before we move on?
I think my cat is really serious about wanting to use Windows 10 because ever since I started mentioning PC brands, he's been all on top of me and scratching at my at me and all kinds of stuff.
Funny.
The headset didn't pick it up, and I was trying to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I don't think we want to torture our YouTube viewers with a cat. And let me know, chat. Yeah, I don't think you guys want to hear a cat scratching at the
everybody
headset.
likes cats, right?
Well, I'm personally allergic to them, but so not really, because they kind of make my go crazy. So Discord. Oops, I accidentally opened Discord. Whoops. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay. Sorry, guys. I think I accidentally, Okay, so I'm getting so many DMs. This is what happens when you have technical difficulties. Okay, so let's move on. If anybody else doesn't have any other points they'd like to bring up, I'm just going to make sure. I don't think we have any more chat messages. Nope. Okay. So let's see here. What do we have next? Windows widgets is what I have next in this. And we kind of talked about that earlier, didn't we? Well, sort of.
Not much.
No?
I have a lot more to say.
Okay, well, then, Michael, I'll just start off by saying, again, it feels like we're going into iPadOS 15.
Yep.
Yep, Michael.
Well, actually, okay, here's my thought.
'Kay.
I feel like this is more iPadOS 14.
14, sorry. Yep.
And the reason is that Apple now has it where the widgets can be on the home screen on iOS, which is great. Windows went the fly out kind of iPadOS 14 where you have a widget overlay over your desktop. So you have all your widgets, and these are the replacement of live tiles. And they have a very nice glassy interface to show this off. So I like it. I think that they put a lot of work into it, and they're going to be making it to where local and small businesses can publish to the feeds. I'm going to be, as a content creator, I think we all need to be very aware of how they're doing this, because it'd be nice to have our content on their feeds. So yeah,
That would be great. And I was just thinking about that, you know, because like all of our articles, like how is that going to be possible? Is it going to take from our RSS feed?
you know, I'm hoping they kind of do like Taylor, I don't know if you know about this, but like Apple News has a plugin called Publish to Apple News.
Really? I did not know about this.
It takes up a lot of memory on WordPress, and we actually deprecated it because we just weren't getting a lot of viewers from there on iAccessibility. But
Really?
I might look into it again. But basically, it publishes your articles to the Apple News platform, and your audio content as well. So yeah, it's called Publish to Apple News. So I'm kind of wondering if we'll get something like that for the Windows side.
Well, we might have to look into that.
I was kind of wondering that too, but at the time I lacked the really technical ability, Michael, to ask you what you thought about that, because I had forgotten what the WordPress plugin was called.
Yeah, I'm actually considering putting it back on our website.
Because if it's like that, then yeah, that'll really make it possible for a lot of content to appear in the new Windows widget.
Mm-hmm. You know, especially
Stuff.
since we now have such an amazing image designer for our featured images that makes like these custom, amazing looking featured images for our content. I'm totally going to name drop Lauren Flinner.
Yep,
who
I was
does
gonna say,
a
if
great
you would-
job
yep.
on that. So, I think we might be putting ourselves back in Apple News.
And I'm going to probably put Taylor's Tech Talks as well, right? Because we're on the Taylor's Tech Talks channel. We might as
Yep.
well put it the Taylor's Tech Talks on Apple News. So if anybody's in the chat and you want us to be on Apple News, say something.
Yep.
Probably more than just the word something, though.
Well, I'm saying just say that you want to be on, just, indicate interest, right? So, Michael B, is he still here?
Yep,
I believe-
I'm still here.
Yeah, Michael, what are your thoughts about all this stuff?
Yeah, I want to
You've
hear.
been quiet.
I feel like Microsoft has tried widgets before, which were the live tiles. My thought about those were, and I have limited experience with them, but was that they were kind of in the start menu and you had to go to them. And maybe I am, or maybe I'm not unique to it. But when I go to my start menu, I search for what I want. I typically don't browse. I will type the first couple of letters and hit enter to get there. So I just kind of skipped over them. I think if these dynamically read the content and when they update, then the screen reader or braille display is made aware of these facts, then it's going to be amazing. I should probably figure out a way to get my website up there. And I wonder if app developers will be able to make, let's say, a decent podcast widget to where when there's a new podcast, you can press enter on it or click on that widget and launch the latest episode. Because
I bet they could, but there's one problem with Windows tablets.
Okay, what is that about? D.
This is a big problem, and this is why I love Windows tablets. The Surface is great. All of these things are amazing tablets, and if Windows 11 fixes this problem, fantastic. They would be much more useful. That, the lock button on your iPad.
Right. I figured out where you were going with this.
The lock button on the iPad puts the device in a low power state. But what keeps happening if you have a podcast playing?
Audio.
I don't know.
It keeps
audio
playing
keeps
audio.
playing in the background.
But what happens, Michael, on your Surface Book, I have experience with this, so I totally know this.
It stops any playback media.
You press that lock button, any playback is going to stop.
Yeah.
Any voice over IP, Discord, Team Talk, anything like that, it's gonna stop.
Ugh, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it's a great tablet. You could use it as a tablet, but who wants to keep their screen on?
Not me. By the way, y'all, we've been going for over an hour now.
Oh, I know, and I'm sure we're not even halfway through.
Oh no, we're not. So this is gonna be a long stream. Yeah,
Our stream is gonna be longer than the event was.
I know.
Right. It has been longer than the event.
But hey, at least
The
we're
event
covering
was-
things in good detail, right?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying the event was only like, what, 45 minutes or something like that?
Yeah.
I think. I was a little bit surprised, honestly, as to how short the event was.
Oh, I thought it was going to go for 2 hours. But really and truthfully, y'all, the event was not just this morning. The developer event.
Right, which we haven't
Was-
even covered yet.
Right.
So, yeah, any other thoughts? Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, Michael. Were you done with your thought?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what else we have here. We have redesign with redesign for Windows devices without a keyboard.
So, yeah, they added a bunch of new ways to interact, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of already feel like some Dragon integration there.
Wait, did you say Dragon integration?
Yes.
Oh,
because
yeah,
Microsoft-
because of the...
Microsoft bought Nuance.
Oh,
yeah, and that's
oh,
actually
oh,
what I
oh.
was thinking of, too, because one of the announcements they made, since we talked about it, right,
Right.
is being able to essentially use voice input, and it's going to be able to, I guess, try to figure out the punctuation that needs to be in the sentence that you're dictating, because not a lot of people, I do this, but not a lot of people think to use punctuation when dictating messages. And Apple, I'm picking on you. You're bad. You don't do it.
So is Otter
get-
AI. I mean,
You
even though
get
you can
giant run-on sentences, and it drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But even,
And-
like, voice commands like delete that, they showed, and that was very neat.
I actually feel like that some of those voice commands that they had announced were actually around in Windows 8 or Windows Vista when they had
I
their
kind of
speech
think they were
recognition
too,
stuff
but I
for the
think
first
that they
time.
changed how they work.
Yes.
And a lot
Maybe.
of times this stuff was done with Cortana and Windows 10, but that's been removed.
So, am I correct me if I'm wrong, y'all? Is there no Cortana?
It's installable, but it's not there by default.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Like I said, it's not in the taskbar and it's not at install.
Whatever will I do without my assurances that I'll be able to watch my cat videos after I set my PC up?
I don't
So,
know. I
I'm
don't
sorry,
know.
but I'm gonna miss that. I thought that was a great.
That was so cool.
It was.
It was neat. And
And, you know-
and honestly, I feel like she could help some maybe less technical savvy people get their PCs up and running by asking them simple questions.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I wanna say something about that as well. I was at work one day with my old job, and we had to set up some PCs in the lab. Well, you know what I did? Because I couldn't get Narrator to work because Narrator was being a crazy, interesting little character on the lab computer. Literally, Cortana's like, hey, I literally talked to the lab computers. This is gonna sound really hilarious. We had 2 or 3 of them going at once. I managed to set them all up at the same time.
That's
Oh,
kind of
that's
cool. That's kind of neat.
My boss was like, what are you doing? I said, well, the computers aren't talking, and Cortana's up, so I decided I'm going to set all 3 of these up at one time. So, I'm just saying, I'm going to miss that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because a lot of people at first were talking about it from, a lot of blind, low vision folks were talking about it from an accessibility standpoint. But really, again, for the less technically savvy person, that could really have helped take some of the burden off of maybe the grandson or the the brother, or the
The more
the mo-
technical
the-
savvy.
the technical savvy family member who ends up helping out the entire family with all their technical problems. And I'm not saying that because in the case of them not wanting to do it, but really Cortana was really able to help with a lot of those everyday how do I set my computer up questions.
Cortana was a equalizer in the computer field, right? It was something that was helping people who may not know what to do or other barriers, or even I could say it's an accessibility feature, right?
Well, you know, I think I think the reason why they took it out is maybe we shouldn't make our digital assistant be the same character as the villain in our flagship video game series.
Well, I never heard that reference before.
But
So Cortana was like the assistant to Master Chief.
Oh.
And then at one point she goes evil.
Oh,
And-
wonderful.
And so, like, now her whole thing is taking over the galaxy. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, maybe we don't want that branding.
Well, whatever Microsoft employee decided to name it Cortana, maybe they shouldn't have named it that in the first place.
Well, when Cortana was brought up, that was not in the storyline. But the thing is that, you know, just like when technology, you know,
it evolves.
if we only have to worry about Cortana being removed, and it's not removed, guys, you could actually put it back, right? You can still put it back in your taskbar. You can still make it to where you could issue requests, but it's not a default thing. You know, I think it's one of those that they realize that, you know, we need to brand this thing right, and you know, like I was trying to say and lost my train of thought, but Google kills more projects than they create. If we only have to worry about Microsoft killing or changing a few things every decade, I think they're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
at least the
what-
Windows Assistant didn't become Clippy though.
You know, that is a part of Microsoft's past. I think it's like Star Trek Enterprise. They just don't acknowledge it.
Also, thank you whoever just subscribed to me. We're up to 176. If we get up to 180 by the end of the stream, then we're gonna be doing something special. I don't know what it is, but I'm just saying if we get up to 180 subscribers by the end of the stream today, that will be epic. So just yeah.
Can we have chocolate chip flavor browser cookies?
Well, you'd have to accept them first.
You'd have to accept them first. But I'm just saying, if we can get up to 180 subscribers, I will be very happy. So, just saying. And also, subscribe to iAccessibility as well, because you're already here. So, go subscribe to iAccessibility 1 on YouTube. Right, Michael?
I don't know the exact address.
And your own pay on YouTube as well. And those links will be in the description. So if you can't find them now, don't worry, because I'll put them right up at the top so you'll subscribe to them once this show gets released. Anyways, I just thought I would mention that as a little bit of a transition there. But, okay, let's see. So, I know that was kind of a weird little thing there. But any other thoughts about that Cortana thing? Because, yeah, I mean, I think it's a... Yeah.
Well, we were talking about input, and I want to just bring up a few last things.
Okay.
They did change the on-screen keyboard to where you could use like thumb mode, kind of like what they have on the iPad, where you could just use your thumbs or thumb to type. They have new pen and paper support for writing notes and a few other things. But, you know, typically things Windows has already had, they just changed the UI for it.
Okay. Right. Any other thoughts by anybody else? All right, let's see what's next. Rotate animation. No rotate animation. Animations. Michael, this is a comment you made during the stream. Do you want to expand on that?
So,
Michael D. Yep.
Basically their new undocked mode when you take your Surface off the stand puts it in tablet mode, which makes touch targets bigger and things like that. So as they rotated the screen, one of the things that happens on iPad is the screen gently rotates and just looks natural when it goes to portrait to landscape and vice versa. Yet again, Microsoft has demonstrated no animation, and it just kind of plop right there, done. It's very abrupt. So that's all that note really was.
Okay. So, okay. Any other? Okay, so we talked about haptics, or do we?
We have not
Yeah,
talked
they-
about haptics yet.
They talk about pen haptics, so as you're writing, it will you can feel as you write through the screen and the pen. It's kind of interesting, but most PCs will not have this.
Okay. Touch keyboard.
Yep, we touched on that.
Yep. What about keyboard themes?
Yeah, that's like the thumb keyboard in different ways to
Okay.
customize your. You can make
Vo-
it look like your iPhone or Android keyboard.
Voice
basically.
typing. We talked a little bit about that. Is there any other thoughts on that?
Michael B,
I
you've been
mean-
quiet. What?
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was about to say. Like, I mean, Michael B is in there.
So my initial thought with this is, that acquisition makes a little more sense now. And you know, you guys talked about a little bit about how using Cortana to set up your computer could help the uninitiated computer user with getting things going and up and running and stuff like that. I think this also could be that, maybe not a replacement to that specific workflow, but a replacement to, how do I open the internet? Well, you just say open Edge or open Chrome, and I presume that that's how it will allow you to control your computer.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, when you're typing, you can just start dictating. And that is one thing that I hope they get right, because I love dictation way too much. I can
Me
type,
too.
but for me, it's just so much faster to just speak what I'm saying. And I have this problem. I think you guys might, or know people who do. I type things a lot faster or a lot slower than what I think them. And sometimes my sentences get all mixed up because I'm typing so quickly that I'm trying to keep up, and I get letters backwards all the time. Even though I know how to spell the words, it just happens. So that I think that'll help a lot.
And for me, sometimes it's simply that it's easier to say what I'm thinking rather than having to concentrate on typing it out. Not necessarily because I get mixed up in my sentences, but when I'm speaking, I don't have to think of the steps involved of typing. I mean, I've never really gotten to the point where I could just type without thinking about it. I mean, I can kind of do it, but I can't, like, say talk and type at the same time. I can't, I'm not always the greatest about listening while I'm typing at the same time. So I found that even with a keyboard, sometimes for me, it is faster dictating.
Okay. Yeah. No, and that's a great point there, right? So sometimes it is faster. I mean, especially on iOS, I tend to dictate a lot. But a lot of sighted people do as well. So it's not just us.
Oh yeah, my girlfriend will voice type while she's, if there's a text that she needs to send and it's urgent enough, she's used Google Assistant on her phone in order to read and reply to the text while she's driving and keeping her eyes on the road.
Right. Oh, sorry, Jason.
So I was just going to say, dictation and these assistants and stuff have a lot of implications beyond just accessibility related stuff.
Any other thoughts
Sorry,
about
it's-
dictation and that stuff? Because we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier as well. So, all right. So moving along, we did talk about this topic a little bit earlier. We touched on it, but I think other people may have other thoughts about the content creators for the Microsoft, like the news. Any more thoughts about that? Because we did talk about that a little bit earlier. But if there's any, I didn't know if anybody else, where you can get your news feed, like a news feed basically in Windows.
Yeah, I think we touched on that.
Yeah. So is any other thoughts? Okay. All right. So, Michael, the next part was gaming.
So, gaming. We're going to get a lot of new graphics, DirectX 12 Ultimate. We're going to get all these other things. that's going to make games look great, like Auto HDR. I'm very excited about this. According to the specs, though, it doesn't. Gotta read the fine print, folks. You need a monitor that supports HDR, so that's kind of important.
Yes, you do. And with that, Lauren Flinner just said, "Hey guys," in chat. So hey, Lauren. I just wanted to mention that as well. I know Lauren and Michael D are both avid gamers. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that Lauren is also in chat, which she is another one of our great partners and that great designer that Michael D just mentioned about 5 or 10 minutes ago about featured images. So check her out.
So, we have the Audio HDR, but you need to have HDR support in your monitor. But the one feature that I'm very excited about, it's called Direct Storage. Yes,
I had that written down as well.
Which requires a 1 terabyte, not cheap, 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. I think it's like version 3 or something like that.
Jesus.
So you need a good SSD. Now, I don't even know if my gaming laptop has that. It has a terabyte SSD, and it's a pretty new machine, so I'm hoping it does. But then your games can almost load instantly. No loading screens. So, new graphics and spatial audio for video games. This came up.
Ooh, I did not see this.
Yes, this was mentioned at the developer event. So that's exciting.
Does that mean potential of more immersive and audio games?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
If not, I know what we need to work on, guys.
There's 4 different types of surround sound codecs used. I only caught 2 of them.
Let me see how many I caught.
There was Dolby Atmos for sure. Yeah. And I knew one I've never heard of called Windows Sonic.
I didn't catch the other ones either.
I think Windows Sonic has actually been around for a while in various forms. I think they started using that in like Windows 10 or Windows Vista for some of the audio enhancements that you can enable on your sound card and stuff.
Well, now that will be used for spatial audio in games and probably other content coming to the Windows Store.
Right. Okay. Any thoughts? Other thoughts?
I won't play with this.
Well, don't we all? Well, speaking of the store, we've got Windows Store. So I'll just kind of go over my thoughts. I know Michael D's got a lot to say. Everybody's got a lot to say. So the Windows Store, let's just kind of go through the outline. So basically, all new Microsoft Store, speed optimized. It was written from the ground up. Developers may use any technology they wish and submit their apps to the store. So, Electrweb? No, that's not a thing. I mean, I guess I made up a new technology between Electron and web apps. Let me try that again. Electron, which is like those Slack or Teams or other apps, and then, web apps, PWAs as they're commonly termed, progressive web apps. And other Windows apps, Win32, all those can be submitted to the store. So open technologies. That's great. And then there was a session for developers at that later on, which Michael D happened to catch. I caught part of it, but Michael D and I will go into that later on. Michael D, and I'm going to have you expand on this. The apps demo didn't look that good, and it didn't scale well. Expand on that.
Okay. Can we take just about a 5-minute break? Let me get some water because I've got a lot to say. I want to run to the restroom.
Yes. All right, let's take an ad break, guys. I will do this. So, I hope you guys are liking the stream. Again, if we hit 180 subscribers, we're going to have some kind of special surprise. Maybe like a WordPress tutorial or something. Maybe a live stream WordPress tutorial. Something to say thank you for 180 subs. So if we hit that by the end of the stream, and we've got a lot to say, so we'll probably be here for another hour. I don't even know. This is going to be a late stream. But I'm just saying, we've got a lot to say. So if you want to follow please do as well. Also, Taylor's Tech Talks has a Patreon page. Yay! You may access that by going to taylorstechtalks.com/Patreon or donate. You can become a member and you'll get access to our Discord server. You'll get access to early access if you like these video content and podcast content. You can get that early access as well. And yeah, you can even get shout outs in videos and streams. So feel free to join that as well. And look at the new Taylor's Tech Talks websites. Follow on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and LinkedIn as well. Follow me there. So all the posts are being posted there as well. But yeah, feel free to donate on Patreon if you like this content. Become a supporter or just do a one-time donation. That's cool as well. But I just thought I would mention that as well. And then Your Own Pay is Michael Babcock's podcast. Michael Babcock, are you around?
If I just stayed quiet, would you keep talking? Oh.
No. But I'm gonna give you an opportunity to talk about your podcast in front of my audience.
Well, I appreciate it. So yourownpay.com is the website you can go to. Right now, we only have one actively being produced podcast. I'm working on a few different projects, which now that I've freed up 32 hours of my week, I can actually get on those projects. But that's besides the point. You can find the one active show either by searching for Your Own Pay or the DM series. Demasi and Michael just talking tech. The two of us, Demasi, who is not here but is around, and I sit down, talk tech. Started out being one guy's on Android, the other on iOS, one on Mac, the other on Windows. You'll have to guess who's on what. And we sit down and talk about productivity and security a lot of the time.
Great podcast, y'all. So
for about
everybody
an
should check it
hour
out.
every 2 weeks. So thank you, Taylor.
Everybody should check it out. In fact, if you don't remember that link, which you probably don't, I'm just saying, it is in the additional resources on Taylor's Tech Talks. So therefore, you should go check it out. Either way, because
And now
all
I
these
need to go
podcasts.
create a resources page for my own website. Thanks, Taylor. Adding more work to me.
Do we need to start a Microsoft to-do or a to-do
I
list?
was gonna say
list?
Taylor would be more than happy to help you with that as long as
Oh, I'm sure Taylor would be more than happy to add tasks to my to-do list of things to do. Oh,
But yeah, no. So, I'm really, like I said, without all these great partner podcasts, guys, this Taylor's Tech Talks would not be where it is today. Cause yeah, we've had 800 total listens so far on all of our episodes, which is crazy. And we've also had 176 subscribers at this current moment. So, this is pretty awesome.
we're
So
getting close.
I know.
Right.
So, Michael D is back. We just took a little bit of an ad break, but Jason or Michael, do you want to talk about the IA cast since I gave Michael B time to talk about the Your Own Pay?
Sure. So, if you haven't heard of the IA Cast, it's a podcast to talk about several different types of technology topics, from everything beginner all the way up to writing code. And we have an IA Cast network, which we are expanding to include new content. So it's going to be amazing. We syndicate a lot of different podcasts, and we have our main show, the IA Cast Weekly Show, where we talk about the what's going on in technology and a topic every other week. But it's a great show. We talk about anything tech related, and we have some great guests, and we make it a good discussion. So you can check us out at iaccessibility.net to get all the links and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah, and again, if you forget that link, which you probably may, taylorstechtalks.com/additional resources, whatever I call that thing, it's on that as well. So, yeah, all those resources, again, very awesome partners. Okay, so the ad break is over. Again, feel free to interact with those items as well. We also have a mailing list coming out very soon. So feel free to be a part of the community. But let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. And Michael D., you have a lot to say about our previous topic.
I have loads of thoughts.
Okay, just start brain dumping.
So, we have the new store, with a lot of changes. This is not like, okay, we've redesigned the store. No. This is a complete redesign. Not just from the ground up, not just from the app level, but from the back end. So, yes, you will be able to run progressive web apps. You'll be able to run React Native and all the other native apps. You'll be able to run all of your same Win32, Win64, and WinUI and UWP apps. They brought out a lot of alphabet soup, which I kind of wish they would have, made available in regular person talk. But part of that event was for developers as well, because this is not a released OS, guys. But what I like that Microsoft does is they appeal to the personability of developers instead of just saying, here's a bunch of code. They say, this is why we love our code. And I think that's just as important. And Apple kind of does not have that same relationship with their developers. They say, here's our code and you're going to love it. Not that, here's our code, we love it, and we hope you love it just as much as we do. I don't get that vibe from Apple. But Microsoft really does. And, I'll get to it whenever we get to the developer conference and the developer event and talking about that. But you're going to be able to have your own conferencing, what's the word I'm looking for? Your own payment platform. Your own way to take payments. And you don't have to use Microsoft, so they don't have to take a cut. And this is in direct, I think, they see the writing on the wall for Apple with this Epic case, and they don't want to get into that. So, Epic could put their Epic, V-Bucks or whatever they're called in the Microsoft store, basically. And, make those platforms integrated and just give a better experience for everyone. And I think that's fantastic. You'll be able to put a web app like that opens in the browser that could run offline in the Microsoft store. They even have a website called pwabuilder.com that lets you build your website into a PWA, which is fantastic. I'll go into more about that later. But the other, the other big thing that was announced is Android apps are coming to the Windows Store. They use the Intel Bridge software to make that work. So it bridges ARM to Intel. And so, do you want me, Taylor, to go into the details of that or wait till later?
Wait till later, Michael, when we get in the developers part, but I just want to mainly talk about the store. Because we're going to talk developers actually right after the store, but I just wanted to kind of separate the two.
Mm-hmm. So, the thing is, pretty much any app that's in the Amazon store will be in the Microsoft store for Android apps, which means the Amazon store is about to get a lot more popular. Just saying. But this is in direct competition to Apple having iOS apps run on M1, basically. So, and I'm curious, we'll talk about why I think this later, but I'm curious if apps are going to be, if Android apps will be screen reader compliant in these. And I'm curious about your thoughts, guys, on that, if you guys think it will be.
Oh, boy. I'll go first, I guess. So, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think so at first. Because, how was it on the Mac, right? Because I saw a tweet comparing these two, right?
Completely accessible on the Mac.
Oh, they were all?
Well, just as accessible as they were. Jason, you can speak more to that.
Yeah, Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, so I oh man.
Oh, what happened?
My eye has really started hurting. Ow. Anyway, so yeah, iOS apps on the Mac. Michael's right. If they're not accessible in iOS, then probably not going to be accessible on the Mac. They do integrate pretty well with the Mac experience, especially for voiceover users, in that voiceover on the Mac has a concept of interaction. So, for instance, you'll see a toolbar, and then to look inside the toolbar, you need to tell voiceover to go into the toolbar and look into it. That's very common in Mac apps, not necessarily so common with iOS apps. But when you run them on the Mac, you using voiceover commands that you learn from Mac apps still have to interact. And iOS apps mostly feel like normal Mac apps to a voiceover user. So I do worry, though, as far as the Windows side of things, how these Android apps are going to, or if they can currently, access the accessibility infrastructure needed for Windows screen reader use.
Okay. That's definitely a good point there. I would totally agree. I mean, I just don't know. It's just kind of one of those unknowns, right? I can't wait till we do have a Windows Insider build we can play with.
Right, and I say that because in Chrome OS, right, I don't know what the current status of it is, but when I last used Chrome OS, you weren't able to use Chromebox, which is Google's screen reader for Chrome OS, to read the graphical interface of Linux apps, which that is a thing that you can do. You can run Linux apps on Chrome OS, on supported Chromebooks. You had to have the Linux tools installed, things like, I think you had to install Speech Dispatcher, you had to install Orca, you had to install something else, I think. I don't remember what all you had to do, but it was possible. My point being that it wasn't something that you could read with Chrome OS's normal built-in screen reader. So.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I think that's kind of my main thing about the store. Michael
All right.
B., what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually think he might have left the meeting.
Has he
Yeah, I
left?
think he left.
Yeah. Is he still here?
No,
I
he
think it
is
said
not.
that his phone left.
All right.
Yep.
I think he is gone for the time being. All right. So, Michael D. Here we go. Let's talk developer.
All right. We had the developer event, which was exactly an hour long.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it so there's two people that are very social podcast personalities.
Yes.
On the Apple side, they have Serenity Caldwell, who worked for iMore. And she was kind of the voice of WWDC. Like if you go back and you watch like the wrap up and the starting the day videos, you'd hear her talking.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft, they hired a woman by the name of Christina Warren, and on Twitter her name is Film Girl. And she's been around the tech industry doing like reviews and things like that for a long, long time. Well, Microsoft hired her, and she led the show, the developer show. She's also on a Relay FM show called Rocket, which is really good. It's a full woman cast podcast talking about tech topics. So I thought that was really interesting, just hearing, technology from a female perspective. And I thought it was very interesting. So if you haven't checked that podcast out, check it out.
Yeah, Michael. At the end of the show, do you want to put it in the show? Do you want to send the link to me?
Yeah,
So we can put that in the links.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
So, it's a great show. And she was kind of leading off everything. It seemed rather, want to say. I mean, it may have. I think it was kind of scripted.
Yeah, I agree.
It just seemed very. I mean, some of the people. I mean, maybe not scripted, but polished. They ran videos, but they were very much. They knew exactly what they were going to say, and how they were going to say it. It kind of felt like, a talk show where they just was like, all right, let's just talk to the developers. And, it just seemed kind of eh. But they released a lot of great information. And I got into it a little late, so I didn't see the very beginning. But they talked about one of the interesting things that I took away from it was PWAs. Where they showed a person writing a progressive web app. And I think this may go beyond just themes, so Taylor, you may want to listen up to this one.
I have my ears peeled.
So, they were running VS Code.
Okay.
Their settings for VS Code were saved, and then they did Snap with the Edge developer tools, and what do you know? Their VS Code settings synced over to Edge.
Wait. What? Hold on.
So the way that it looked and the way that it interacted and things like that went over to Edge. Now, I don't know if that goes beyond just looks, but I think there's some major stuff that's going to be happening there.
So you're saying like Edge could be like a developer browser?
Well, yeah, you could develop, since it's Chromium, you're just using Chrome.
Exactly.
So if you're using VS Code, at least in Windows, you could have all of your settings from VS Code save into the Edge debugger.
Oh.
Whoa.
Sorry, guys.
Late stream,
Yep.
Yeah, it is
Especially
like
for you guys.
Yeah,
But
but it's worth it for you guys.
And that's one of the things that I'm excited about is that synchronization. They also showed the same woman working on and this is significant, guys, because Windows Terminal is now built into Windows. They when you open a command line CMD or Windows Subsystem for Linux or PowerShell, it all goes to Windows Terminal, and you could go between them with different tabs in the window. And what's amazing about that is they were writing in Windows Subsystem for Linux. They started their web server. They did the stuff they needed with Node. Then they typed code space and then the folder name. And this will blow your mind, Taylor. What it did was when they typed code space and then the period for the folder name, it created a remote connection like SSH or something similar to Windows Subsystem for Linux. So Visual Studio Code was almost like it was a Windows app running with Linux, almost like you were connected to a server, but on your own computer, and you could do the same things. And so they were using Linux, Ubuntu, with Windows applications, Windows browser, and Windows debugger.
Okay, so question about that. Does that mean that the Windows... And sorry, guys, this part of the stream, we're going to be going into the weeds. So just FYI. Does that mean that the Windows... remote developer extension for VS Code WSL. Oh my gosh, that was such a conglomerate of word syllables.
Alphabet soup.
Yeah. Does that mean that that's not necessary anymore?
It probably uses all of that under the hood.
Oh yeah. Wonderful.
So, and they showed it. They had it snapped where they had the Edge tools, developer tools on one side with when you press F12. Edge in the middle, and then VS Code on the right with Snap. And this, Jason, this is the part where you go, aw, snap.
Oh, snap, or if Chrome doesn't respond.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it does say that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, why is that familiar to me?
In fact, Michael, that was epic timing. Because get this, I was in Chrome. When you said aw, snap, it said aw, snap. So I was like, wait, what happened here? So I was like, oh, shoot, it's not responding anymore. And then, so that's why it just came to me.
Also, epic timing.
Yeah. We're not going into that,
Well, we already kind of did with the talk of the antitrust stuff.
That's the only reason I said it, because we were talking about epic bucks on the store.
Mm-hmm. And So that's one of my favorite things that they showed off was the ability to do, all these things with Windows Subsystem for Linux and being able to do the VS Code, changes. They showed PWA Builder where you could build your PWA and then send it to the store.
And we did
easily.
try that on a WordPress website. That didn't work.
Nope, because we didn't have all the necessary manifest. But here's the thing
Okay.
that is amazing. They have what's called a web manifest file where you could put all of the
Dependencies?
the icons, the libraries, and the items you want in context menus, and what you want to appear in the taskbar or the system tray, folks.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
So does that mean you don't even have to code up your menus?
You do, but in the web manifest. So they were showing how all this stuff worked and how you could put it in the Windows Store. They talked about UWP apps and the new WinUI 3, which is in early beta. It's in alpha or beta. I don't remember which version, 0.8. But it's where you can write for one type. It doesn't even matter what type. You can pick UWP, WPF.
You mean forms,
And-
if that's still around?
It is. And they're about to release in a future insider build WPF for ARM at 64-bit.
What? I thought WPF was going away.
Nope.
What?
And yep, it's still being supported. And UWP, WinForms, all that stuff is still supported.
What?
And if you write for WinUI 3, it's going to take on the new design language. So it's just going to work. And you don't have to write UWP apps anymore to get full push notification support and file storage support.
Hallelujah.
So they're opening it all up with this new Windows app SDK, they're calling it.
Oh.
So I'm hoping and I'm wondering if that means we're going to have a new version of Visual Studio.
Well, let's see. Visual Studio, let's see. They come out usually.
VisualStudio.com. I wonder if it's in beta or if Visual Studio 2021 or 2022.
Let me look.
But they're bringing out a lot of new things there. The next thing that I found interesting is the Android talk. And there's been such an information dump. I'm going to try to explain this as
Okay, and then I've got a comment about Visual Studio as well.
okay.
There's a preview, but yeah.
There is a preview.
And it's available to download right now.
I know what I'm doing when I get off this talk.
I know what I'm doing as well, and it's going to probably kill this Lenovo, and we're probably going to be up all day. I don't know.
So,
anyways.
Android.
Made you lose your train of thought. Sorry.
Nope, I still got it. It hadn't been derailed. So,
Okay.
Android apps. They're going to be in the Amazon App Store. They're using an Intel bridge to bridge them together, but apparently Android Studio has where you could build universal binaries now, x86 and ARM.
Wow.
Now, what I never heard during this entire talk this morning or this afternoon was the term Win32. I always heard Win64. So,
Wait. No. I heard Win32
They
this
mentioned
morning.
Win32 when they were talking about apps that were supported into
Yes.
the store.
yeah, okay. So, another thing that was announced at the developer portion is now, get this, for ARM-based computers, you will be able to have, this will be important for your listeners or IACast listeners, especially. Anybody that uses accessibility and wants to get an ARM computer.
Yeah, my listeners as well. Yep.
Like a Mac or, anything with a Qualcomm chip or the Surface Pro X.
Yep.
Windows 11 and the new SDKs will have support for compiling applications with mixed 32-bit and 64-bit code on ARM with Intel integration. With
Yeah.
emulation.
Wow.
So, to all of those folks that were worried about JAWS and NVDA and Eloquence, you're good to go.
So whoever's in the chat right now, if you guys are, you should be very happy.
So that's why I watch these developer things, because you get things that you may not get otherwise.
Totally agree. Wait, did I just lose everybody?
Nope.
Oh,
No.
whew. Okay, I totally agree. Yeah, you wanna watch those events. Any other thoughts, Michael?
Those are my highlights from the developer portion. I just really liked, I feel like some of that was scripted, but I liked the vibe and the personalities they got.
I do as well.
They did a whole nother section on gaming where they kind of went into more depth on that, but I don't feel like this is the right venue to go into all of those details.
No, let's not do that.
Other
here.
than to say that Xbox cloud gaming is going to be revolutionary for games, and that surround sound stuff that I mentioned earlier is too. So that's really all I would say on that.
All right. Well, is it, folks?
That's all the details, but I'm curious.
Any other thoughts about the event?
Yeah, Jason, do you have any overall, like, what was your vibe? Was this an Apple level event for this is kind of amazing? Because Apple comes out with a new OS every year, and Microsoft comes out with new features and stuff, but they don't really change much of their operating system unless it's like 5 or 7 years. So, what are your thoughts, Jason?
My thoughts are, hold on, I was yawning. I'm enjoying this stream, don't get me wrong, but I'm starting to fade. So I'm not a developer. I would actually consider myself more a podcast producer right now than a music producer. I'm a musician. And that's, really quickly, that is something that I really would like Microsoft to do some work on, is MIDI support in Windows. As of right now, and I'll keep this short, I promise. As of right now, and right now being like Windows 10 and stuff, Windows does not seem to like using MIDI over Bluetooth. Just doesn't like it. There's some hacks you can do to get it to work, but I couldn't get them to work on my machine. And that's really important for my particular setup right now, is being able to use MIDI over Bluetooth. So I'm really hoping that Microsoft can address this, if not in the initial release of Windows 11, at some point in the future. But anyway, getting back to what I was going to say, I'm not a developer, but from the consumer side, the one thing that really continues to stand out to me is the ability to run Android apps on Windows. I'm not saying the developer stuff is not cool, because it is. It really is great, and I'm really excited for the possibility that these new technologies and frameworks and things will bring to the table with different apps that people create. But the ability to run Android apps is really what I keep thinking about, because I want to know how this works. I want to know how they look. I want to know how they run. I want to know how they perform. I want to know what parts of the apps I can use and what parts of the apps I can't use. I want to really play with this. So that's, I think, really what I'm most excited about at this time. That, and maybe the spatial audio stuff, but I'm not a giant, the world's biggest gamer, but yeah, the Android apps is what stuck out to me.
You brought up, and I was going to touch on that, and I kind of forgot. One of the things they talked about was how they make these work. And they actually said at the developer conference that they're using what's called, I kind of totally forgot to mention all this. They're using a system they're calling the WSA, Windows Subsystem for Android.
Oh.
And now the problem with that, they're using the Intel Bridge to emulate
Okay.
ARM. But what they're doing is they're using basically a WinUI or UWP container. Yes, I said container,
Oh.
which
Oh boy.
is just is not, to essentially emulate the app.
Kind of like wine.
Similar, but basically they're running it almost like a native app, but within a container. So it's Android. It's almost like an Android virtual machine, but made to look like it's actually there. So I'm worried about screen readers being able to get to the content of that
That could be a problem.
of that virtual window.
Yeah. That could be a big issue.
But we'll know more next week.
We will. And who knows?
Because-
We might do a thing about it.
Because we'll find apps to sideload on that thing. Because I'm sure you can.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure we'll find out more.
Any other thoughts, though?
Nope, that's all I've got.
All right. This has been over 2 hours long. So, this has been a long stream.
I have definitely enjoyed it, and I appreciate, Taylor, you inviting me to come up on your stream and
My pleasure.
hopefully not drive everybody insane.
Well, whoever's in the chat also as well, if anybody in the chat has any final thoughts before we close out, I'd like to hear it. So I'll just give it a couple minutes before we do that. I'll just close out, though, by saying this has been an awesome Taylor's Tech Talks stream. If you enjoy Taylor's Tech Talks, you can go to taylorstechtalks.com/donate or Patreon to visit the Patreon, where you can become a member and you can donate and help Taylor's Tech Talks grow and be able to support the community. In addition to that, if you're interested in having me work with you, if you're interested in maybe some WordPress websites, or you want to kind of, see how these development ideas can come to life, you're interested in maybe getting a Windows app, or you're wanting to do some of that stuff, we have a thing called, well, Michael, should I announce it?
Sure.
We've got Techopolis Online Solutions, y'all.
Yeah, it's a new company I'm working on to
Yep.
promote development services and to help developers get better by working on actual live projects.
So, if anybody would like to get a Windows app, maybe you want to get ahead of this trend, well, why not talk to us at Techopolis Online Solutions to see how we can help you best create your app of your dreams?
Yep, and you can, for now, follow Techopolis OS, which is a great name, on
Oh, yeah.
Twitter. And we're still working on our websites, techopolis.online and techopolisonline.com. So those things will be coming up shortly. And iAccessibility.net will still be your place to get all of this content, that we have, the IACast, Taylor's Tech Talks. You can find all of it there, and it will send you to the right place. And it's also a place where you could come and meet our partners, like Taylor, Lauren, Michael Babcock, who was here earlier, and Damasi Thomas. We will have their information up on the site shortly. So, come be a part of this great community.
Yes.
And learn from some of the best professionals in the trade.
Yeah, so feel free, like I said, guys, this has been an awesome stream. Super excited. Again, feel free to subscribe, share with your friends, ring the notification bell, because we will be doing more of these. If you guys want more, we will do more of these. I don't know about you, Michael, but did you enjoy yourself as well?
Yeah, I think this was a great stream, and we stream the IACast every 2 weeks. We'll be streaming one this Sunday, so come check that out at the iAccessibility YouTube channel. And
go subscribe to them as well.
We have a YouTube channel. So, we're all over the web, and you can hear me and Jason and Taylor, Lauren, and others. And you could also find it in your favorite podcatcher.
All right, with all that being said, I think that's going to do it, and I will talk to you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.